Okay, darn, that's not the one that gives me the extra bonus. That set of options. Yeah, shit. I can't remember if I did this yesterday. I know I've done it at least 2 days. I can't remember if I forgot to do it yesterday, or if yesterday was also another day I complained, saying, "God damn it, they should, they should notify me." Okay, so I need this. Of course, it has the shit substat. Attack. Okay, that's the good main substat, but of course the substats are absolute dog shit. In fact, you could not get more worse substats for an attack scaling character than this. Flat HP, flat defense, and HP percent. Because there's no other flat things you could give. Like, flat attack, at least, would be kind of useful for an attack scaling character. So these are literally the most useless, worst substats you could possibly get for this. There's nothing worse. Every other substat would actually benefit your character in some way. These are the ones that do literally nothing for your character. And for this, I mean, see, these have good substats. Well, not really good. Like, penetration is useful because it's a defense ignore, and crit damage, obviously. But the problem is it's slot 5, and you want to have elemental damage on slot 5. So like this, this actually could be useful. It would be an off-piece set type thing. I find it an anomaly. Someone who has someone has another 4-piece set, and this could be the off-piece 2, or this could be the on-piece 4, because I think this actually would work out for Piper. Because Piper is physical and anomaly, and I think she actually does do the full 4-piece set, so this is actually super helpful for her. So, another anomaly units could use this as a 2-piece, because anomaly proficiency is always good to get. So it could work for Jane Doe, too. In fact, what does Jane Doe have? Yeah, I mean, she even does have the 2-piece for this. So I could swap off this. Now, obviously, I think I used my my build one, where I'm like, please build me one perfectly for myself. Let's see, work Piper too. There she is. So she actually doesn't have. Oh wait, yeah. Shit, I forgot. No. Yeah, it kind of goes both ways. Most people do attack because physical. You're not really. Most of your damage comes from your anomaly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Most of your damage comes from your anomaly. So you just want to have very high raw attack. You want to have really high. Obviously, as you can see, 30% still do physical, so it's not terrible. It's not terrible per se. Yeah, anomaly. Oh, this is anomaly mastery. That's one on the wrong one. Anyway, so yeah, and then I think what does Alice use? She has. Oh, she's this. Anomaly mastery. Yeah. Better best say. Yeah. Just, it is surprising that just the physical set. I mean, I guess that's the whole thing. Because she's causing assault often enough, this is actually helpful. Does she go physical? Yeah, she goes physical. Because she actually does do a lot of good damage. And that's the thing with Piper, is that Piper, most of her damage comes from her anomaly, which I don't think scales up. I don't think the anomaly, the assault that she would cause, is. I don't think that assault gets any bonuses because of physical damage. I don't think so. So the only thing physical damage would help would be her actual personal damage when she's spinning around. But as a 4-star, that's not gonna be a huge amount. Maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm gonna spend my resin later, so I'm just gonna do the story first.
どこだろうと。真夜中の夏、今日の占いは異形を示すべし。
Yeah, this is the interesting thing, right? Like, because it sounded like Yadhari's standing back and waiting for us. Like, she's like, okay, you're going to go off and do something. I'll stand back and wait for your response. So it's weird that she's in our party right now. It's also weird that, like, why would we have left? Like, they should have had a portal. They should have had a fissure right behind us. So it's like, oh, okay, we just came into the hollow. Because can't defend ourselves, you know? We have no combat training, and the only thing we can do is semi-purify miasma, but that's it. So going into the hollow alone is incredibly risky, you know? So it's weird that we meet Lucia inside the hollow, where we have literally no defenses. We should meet her outside the hollow, and then she can lead us in and protect us. So... And you can't use the whole, like, oh, well, actually, no, the people you're bringing in are your defense squad, right? Because they're bringing in Yadhari, which is like, well, wait a minute, we shouldn't have Yadhari because she just said she's not joining us. She said she'll wait for us to come back, so her being in our party is weird. Now, obviously, I'm bringing Jufuhu, which is like, okay, cool. And, like, you could argue, oh, yeah, like, the Lucia in party slot 1 is fine, right? Because you're going to meet her shortly, so it's like, fine, sure. The other two party members could be keeping us protected until we meet Lucia, and since we meet her right away, having her be in party slot 1 is fine. Which is, yeah, it is fine. But it's just weird that they have Yadhari in our party for this, while outside of the hollow, she said, yeah, I'm not joining. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Because she says, tell me all about it when you get back, right? That's not the words of someone who's joining us, right? So, obviously, those are not the words of someone joining us in the hollow, so she should not be in our party. So, I mean, I do get it to a degree, because they're like, yeah, sure. But they could have easily, I mean, it's the kind of thing where they could just easily help. It's like, she said, oh, I'll help you out, right? I'll join you and keep you protected as you. Yeah, I don't know, like, all it would take is just a few rewritten lines of dialogue and that's it. So it's like, it's not great, obviously, but it's still not the kind of, like, humongous plot hole and glaring contradiction that, like, Wuthering Waves has. Like, Wuthering Waves actually has, like, actual contradictions with the story itself, right? This is just a gameplay. This is just a dissonance in gameplay, Where it's like, oh, she said she's not gonna join us, but she's in our party. It's like, well, yeah, but, like, they want, I can understand why they also want you to be doing this, with characters that synergize well with each other. And so Yadhari and you'll see a synergize well, so it's like, yeah, sure. For the purposes of gameplay, they're allowing Yadhari in our party, despite what they said. Because it's like, you know what? She said this, but... And so, like, so while it makes it slightly inconsistent, it's not huge relevance. It's not, like, greatly relevant. And, like, when I talk about story problems with Wuthering Waves, they're, like, bad. They're like, yes, we've explained the setting of the world, and now we're just going to contradict what we've said. Where it's like, yeah, this is how we've explained the world, and now we're going to say something that completely, like, invalidates something we've said before. Or, we've given you the impression that this is the course of events that happened. Or, we've given you the impression that these events happened long ago, but then we now say they happened 20 years ago, which flies in the face of all the other shit you said before, which made it seem like it was longer ago. And it's just like, well, no, there's no way in hell this could have happened 20 years ago, because, like, there's no way in hell, like the Order, right? There's no way in hell the Order of the Deep popped up 20 years ago. Because we were told, oh yeah, like after the first Black Wave, that was when the Order was formed, right? the Order was formed like to fight off the Black Wave and everyone was saved. But there's no way in hell that could have happened. It just does not make any logical sense that a completely newly formed order could get that much power within 20 years. So much so that they have a stranglehold on everything that's going on. Because we show up in Renacida, they can dictate everything. They're like, yes, it's our way or the highway. So much so that they're able to edge out the Montelli family, which has a ton of power and influence, but they choose to ally with their rival and are, making things hard for the Montelli family. Montelli family has the huge bank. They have so much history in this place. The fact that the Order can join with their rival, and their rival was never doing that well, and join with their rival and still do all the shit, it just makes no sense. It makes no logical sense that they should be able to have that much power, especially if they only were created 20 years ago. 20 years ago is nothing. Sure, in terms of companies, yeah, you could create a company, and if it's a really good company, you could amass money and influence and grow in 20 years. Sure, as an entrepreneur, you could do this, but this is not an entrepreneur. This is a faith. You don't convince people of your faith that easily. It's like Christianity pop up. It's like, oh yeah, Jesus just died, Jesus resurrected, and then Christianity is the predominant religion 20 years later. It's like, no, that fucking doesn't happen. It took fucking hundreds of years because all the entrenched ideologies were already in place, and they already had entrenched ideologies of worshiping the Sentinel. And sure, the Order was trying to subvert those ideologies into tricking people to worshiping their way, but it's just the fact that it is the predominant religion in 20 years makes no fucking sense. Even if there wasn't a lot of Christianity took a while to form because there were a lot of entrenched ideologies and religious beliefs at the time that were already in power and trying to defend themselves. And you could argue that Renacida is not defending themselves as hard and they don't have as many ideologies, so it was easier to form. But there's no way in hell you could become the predominant religion in 20 years. It's just fucking insane. No. Especially because they keep they kept talking about random shit where it's they're trying to whitewash their own history, and it's what? So oh yeah, these are the scriptures we used to worship, and these are the scriptures we now worship. We can clearly see how they're different, and it's what? It's been 20 years. People who worship the old scriptures would still remember them. They're still alive. It makes no fucking sense that the Order is trying to change their history when everyone who saw them form are still alive, right? It's been 20 years since they first formed. Everyone's alive still, Even if you were 50 or 60 at the time when all this shit was happening, you'd still be 70 or 80 and alive. You will have lived a majority of your life without the Order. To think that the Order could supplant everything is fucking insane. So basically, it's these kind of glaring logical inconsistencies where it's we've explained the world, and we've shown these old stained glass windows that showed how the Order was born in a ruined building. It's oh, okay, well, this had to have happened ages ago then, 100 years or so ago. Because this building is ruined. This might have been a place of worship. The first Order church, the Order of the Deep's church, where they showed their true history, 100 years ago. But over time, they've been slowly corrupted and now want to subvert people. They got people in on Sentinel worship and then slowly subverted it. But it's no, you don't slowly subvert it in 20 years. People notice that shit. The slow subversion is something that should be happening between generations. Where it's cool, now that our first generation of people who worshipped us are dead, they've just grown old and died, we can slowly change our scripture bit by bit, generation by generation, until we can convince them. It's it's not something that happens in 20 years, right? So, and they don't explain it because they're just yeah, whatever. Who cares how we explained it before? This is what they're trying to do. This is the timeline. This happened 20 years ago. And like the crazy thing too is that, so this happened 20 years ago. And then like 10 years ago, that's when Cartithia sacrificed herself, I believe. But it's kind of hard to tell because like they really fast and loose with the dates of when this shit happened. But 10 years ago should have been Cartithia's sacrifice. But it's like, it's so weird because like the way they've said some stuff just flies in contradiction to what they've said before. Because 10 years ago, Cartithia was was essentially fighting against them, saying, hey, you know, we like laughter and music and all this shit. And the Order, even at that time, was trying to like restrain their celebrations. And then they had another, monster attack happen. And it's just like, wait, what? Like, that means because like it's already unrealistic enough that they could have done what they did in 20 years. But you're saying even at 10 years, a 10-year-old organization already had control over the huge fucking whale and was able to raise swarms of monsters to attack people to try to get them more reliant on the church? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so much so that Cartithia had to sacrifice herself and merge with the Threnodian to stop it? It's like, what? And then in that 10 years, the Order became even more restrictive. It's like, that makes no fucking sense. To go from, 20 years ago, we had this Sentinel fighting personally with us, who got wounded. Then 10 years later, Cartithia sacrifices herself. And then, of course, there was the whole thing where it's the whole sword, right? The Cartithia's sword or whatever that Cantarella had. And Cantarella's talking about, like, how they've had the sword for ages, right? Like, yes, and we were given the sword. And we've, lost so many people sacrificing themselves to the sword every year to try to resonate with it. But it's like, what do you even mean? Like, you make it seem like hundreds and thousands of girls sacrificed, like a few girls are sacrificed every year, but it's like, for 20 years, that's like nothing. Like, sure, it does suck, right? Like, there's been definitely some girls that have been sacrificed, but it made it seem like it's like one girl a year. But that would mean in 20 years, you've only sacrificed 20 girls, like, and the Cantarella was the only one who survived or something. It's like, it's really weird, right? It's the kind of thing that would make far more sense if the Order was like 100 or 200 years old. The Black Wave was something that happened ages ago. It's no one currently in Reseda remembers it because anyone who experienced it is dead. And so now that all the original people who were there for the Black Wave are dead, the church is now trying to slowly, change their scriptures and change how it was to try to get people to trick people into Threnodian worship instead of Sentinel worship. That would make more logical sense. But then they literally explicitly say, no, it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there's Black Wave. 10 years ago, there's Black Wave. It's like, what? Like, you made it seem like there's only one. So the fact that you've said that it happened 10 and 20 years ago, it's like, that in and of itself is contradictory, because you've never really said that there was more than one ever. Everything all the ways they've talked about it has always been like, yes, there's only one. The one Black Wave. Because they were saying the Black Wave was caused when the Sentinel was injured and her blood spilling to the ground caused the Black Wave. Well, if that's what caused the Black Wave, then how the fuck did that happen a second time, right? If that happened 20 years ago, then what the fuck was 10 years ago? If the Sentinel wasn't wounded and bleeding again, then how the fuck did the second Black Wave happen, right? Like, you told us that the way the Black Wave was created was incredibly explicitly said, yes, their spilled blood caused the Black Wave, right? So it makes no fucking sense whatsoever that the Sentinel, who after 20 years ago, or after the formation of the Order, has never been seen again, right? So again, it makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. Like, and and they were talking about like, oh, there's never been a resonator until we had the one resonator who's Cartithia, and it's like, yes, there's never been a resonator before that. It's like, really? Because it seems like your history of this is only 20 years old, which is like, that's not really much. I wouldn't say, yes, that's an amazingly rare thing. It's like, yeah, sure, 1 in 20 years is pretty rare, but like, that's like a generation, right? Like, I wouldn't say there's no resonators if So yeah, again, there's like so many contradictory things in the story, in the actual explanation of their world and setting, that it pisses me off. Whereas like having Lucia or having Yatari in our party is not like the craziest thing, right? It's like, yeah, rather than have your parties suit whoever, rather than forcing your party to be like, oh well, Yatari said in this sentence that she's going to wait for us our response, so now we can't use her in this, even though she synergizes well with Lucia. It's like, nah, fuck that. Let's give you this. Let's give you both, because it also acts as a trial for both too. So you can get used to Lucia and Yatari before pulling if you want to. So, but yeah, again, that's my another Wuthering Waves rant. I mean, I've heard that things look good. You know, I've heard that. Yeah, like I've heard it looks good, right? I heard, and that's actually kind of one thing I do find kind of annoying about Wuthering Waves, right? So they do these glaring omissions, these glaring contradictions, and because of that, I would say the story is shit, right? Like, it's a bad story if your writing constantly contradicts itself, right? It's bad. It's not a good story if you're fucking up like this. Like, you know, it's not a good story if you do stuff like that. I don't actually get that much health back from that. Thought I'd get more. But anyway, so because the problem is, well, not really the problem. It's good that they do this. Like they have really good scenes, and this has basically been how it has been since the game first came out, right? People were like, "Oh yeah, the story of Wuthering Waves is good." It's like, no, it's not. Like this, people were saying that in 1.0, right? In 1.0, they were saying the story was good, which is like, no, it's 100% not. It's actually terrible. It was actually really bad. Like the intro part of the story was really terrible. Like the explanations for everything were just like they just like dumped so much shit on you. Oh, it's fine. They just like dumped so much terminology on you. They were like, yeah, every organization knows exactly who you are, despite you yourself having like no memory of anything. But everyone knows who you are. Everyone wants you. You know? Everyone wants you. And you meet like 3 or 4 organizations, all who are saying, oh my god, you're amazing, you're God's gift to the world. Despite you not knowing shit. None of them explain anything. You know? You're just dumped with... Oh, interesting. Oh, so he was faking it. Interesting. So he... I see. So he was actually working with those people. He was actually working with those people. But when we found him, he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to throw them under the bus, blame them. And I'm going to blame them so that I can get away. I mean, I can understand his rationale, because basically their tribe is under a curse, where if they ever fall asleep at night, they sleepwalk into the hollow and get killed and make their eternal enemy stronger, right? It's a shitty existence, to a degree, right? Obviously, yes, if you just only sleep during the day and stay awake at night, become nocturnal, and become truly nocturnal, you know, not a huge problem, right? Like, you won't even notice it if you only ever go to sleep at night, or only during the day, and stay awake throughout night, which is not, like, hard to do, right? Like, you only really need, like, 8 hours of sleep, so you can go to sleep, you know, you can go to sleep at 9 a.m., wake up at 5, right? And for both of those times, no matter, well, I guess there are some super high, if you're super near the top or bottom of the world, night times can be even longer, but normally, yeah, like, that'll be completely during the day, You know, it's long after dawn, long before sunset. Should be fine, right? Hell, you could even do 8 to 4 just in case daylight savings time and shit like that. No problem. And then you have the entire night to stay up. So not a huge issue, but again, it does kind of suck that it is looming over your heads. So the idea could be that this guy, quote unquote, betrayed them to try to figure out, to figure out more about the Night Terror to maybe stop it. So it could be that he's trying to fix their clan's problem. It could be that he's trying to fix their clan's problem, and he's gone to outsiders to help.
普段はあんなにエーテリアスと親しげにしておいて。
キーラン。
ああ、でも僕としては。
族長が。
さあ、そうさ。もう長いこと族長なんてやってるんだから、もっとヨマの目を引いてくれるかと思ったんだけど。
I see. So are they trying to catch the Night Terror?
ラマニアンに飲まれて。
Just kill it. I mean, with a robot like that, it could be that he's trying to kill it, right? He used the chief as bait, so that when the Night Terror appears, he can bring out a huge robot and beat it. So it could be that he is working towards the quote-unquote greater good of the clan by trying to defeat the Night Terror. But of course, like, sacrificing someone to try to do that is kind of fucked up.
臆病だったからさ。この間、狼の人間が訪ねてきた時、奴はその場で協力の申し出を断った。ああやって善人ぶるところは。
逆に聞くけど、そうやって手段を選ばなければ、私たちよりもまともだって言えるようになる。
Yeah, so you call us a hypocrite, but you literally did. Like, so yeah, sure, like, if you were the ones who introduced those foreigners to the chief, and he called you a traitor, I think that's a little bullshit, right? I mean, to a degree, yes, because presumably what he did is he told the other people about the Night Terror and the curse of their clan, which, if this is the clan's secret, you did betray your clan by telling them that, right? Well, let's just say it's not a super secret, because obviously Lucia also told us, so maybe you have a little discretion to reveal that. So the chief calling him a traitor just because of that is a little bullshit, because if this guy's like, no, I think these guys can help us, they can solve our problem, we can defeat the Night Terror and no longer be cursed. I wouldn't say you're a traitor for trying to do something like that, but luring the chief, like basically murdering the chief indirectly, that's kind of fucked up. Like, that is betraying the clan. You sent the chief to his death to try to achieve your goals. That's wrong.
伝説として仰々しく語り継いできたせいで忘れ。
エーテリアスから奪ったって。
リュシアも君には話してなかったんだ。先祖たちは何も偶然ヨマと出会ったわけじゃない。
Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
一族の半分その場でエーテリアスと化した。
でもそれだって。
そうやって自分を騙してるという。
Yeah, this is obviously stupid, right? Because they're like, oh, well, you were chasing after them, trying to gain their power. Like, I actually, when he first said that, I thought what he was going to say was that their tribe worshipped the Night Terror, right? Their tribe worshipped the Night Terror and were granted the Night Terror's power, a fraction of the Night Terror's power because of it. But then they decided, you know what, we want all of that power, and then attacked. But it's like, no, it sounds like they just came across it, saw that it was able to control them, attacked, trying to get that power. Now, the reason why the story is a little bullshit is because he's presuming what they were intending, right? He was presuming, oh, yeah, they attacked the Night Terror because they were looking to gain this power. It's like, well, where is that listed, right? You're just assuming their intention from an ancient legend. Like, sure, could it have happened? Yeah, of course. They could have been that. It could have been that they saw what the Night Terror was able to do. And so they were like, man, we got to get in on that, right? And so they attacked it with the hope of capturing it and, using its power. That could have been the case. Like, there's nothing in what he said that is just flat out wrong. There's nothing he said that couldn't be true. But the problem is he has no proof of that it's true, right? Yes, that is a possibility. That is one possible motivation for what caused that. The other thing could be that the Night Terror killed one of their children, right? Or the Night Terror had been slowly kidnapping, children over like a few days, a few weeks, a few months, years, whatever. And so finally the tribe was like, you know what? You know, the Night Terror seems to be going after us and like attacking us when we go into the Hollow. So we're going to have to fight back and beat it, right? Like that could also equally be true, right? We have no clue because based on what Lucia said and what he said, neither of them have brought up any sort of receipts. Neither of them have ever said, oh, and here's a passage from the ancient scripture of our tribe, our ancient history of what happened. And this line leads me to believe this. It's like, no, he hasn't brought that up at all, you know? He brings up, it's like, no, we did this intentionally. We brought this on ourselves. And when he unleashed that surge, half of us died immediately, or half of us turned into ethereals immediately, and the other half were cursed. And then he's saying, oh, and the reason because of that, you know, the rest barely survived. The only reason they were acknowledged by the Hollow is because they sacrificed their own kin. Really? How? You mean they killed the ethereals? Half the ethereals, half their tribe that turned into ethereals, the remaining humans, the remaining humanoids, the remainder of their tribe killed them, and then they were acknowledged by the Hollow? Like, well, how the fuck does that make any sense? We kill ethereals all the time. Unless you're saying that the reason why those half survived is because those half sacrificed their kin, which caused the other half to turn into ethereals. But even still, like, what are you basing this off of, right? You're just like saying, like, sure, because basically what he's doing is he's taking historical events, right? He's taking, hey, these are historical facts. We attacked the Night Terror. When the Night Terror was defeated, it unleashed a surge of ether, which killed half our tribe and left us the remaining half cursed, right? But he's taking these historical facts and he's putting in meaning and intent behind them. Intent and meaning that doesn't exist in any documentation. There's no document, no point of their history does it mention, oh yes, we found this monster and now we're going to go attack it to steal its power. No diary from any of the survivors at the time saying, I sacrificed my tribe, that's why I survived. Now, it could be that, yeah, like, in that surge, so they all tried to run away. Like, maybe he was, like, charging up a big blast, and so some of them ran away, and some of them fell to the ground and collapsed. And because they were too close, they turned to ethereals, and you could be like, oh, yeah, the people who ran away faster were not cursed, so they sacrificed the slow people. Yeah, maybe, you could argue that. But again, no proof, no survivor diary saying... When I saw him charging up a big blast, I kicked my fellow tribe member towards it, you know, to save my own skin. Like, no diary like that. So he's just saying, yes, I'm taking these historic facts, and I'm making up the intention of the people at the time, based on nothing, because it suits my interpretation. And then, of course, this whole thing: do you believe you can strike a deal with the ethereals and not pay the price? At what point did they strike a deal with the ethereals? Your own story says we beat the Night Terror, and in its death throes, it blasted ether, which killed half your tribe. At what point is that striking a deal, right? That's not striking a deal. The thing was killed by your own admission, and its death throw was doing this. That's not striking a deal, right? But basically what he's trying to say, he's trying to take another fact, right? The fact that they can do what they do. They don't get seen by the Hollow. He's like, well, yes. And the reason we did this is because we struck a deal. It's like, except you didn't. You two are young, I think. I mean, it's hard to tell how old they actually are. I think they are a long-lived race. So they might be older than they appear. But you two are relatively young. It's very unlikely that either of you were in that initial party, yet you are also cursed. So, like, how could you have struck a deal with an ethereal that you weren't anywhere near when it's, you know, quote unquote, struck that deal? So yeah, this guy just brings up these historic facts of their tribe, and then just makes up bullshit to be like, yeah, well, actually, they did this because of this. It's their own fault that they got cursed because they attacked this innocent ethereal out of nowhere, trying to steal its power, and then they made a deal and sacrificed their own kin to do so. It's like, based on what? Like, you have literally nothing. You have literally no reason, like, nothing to back this up. You're just trying to justify your own traitorous behavior and be like, well, no, I'm not betraying them because they already betrayed the tribe. So, like, I'm only betraying a betrayer, so that's all fine. Like, it just cancels out. It's like, no. Like, even if all this was true, right? And in fact, I think Heavensward from Final Fantasy XIV does a really good job kind of talking about generational guilt. Because the Ishgardians in Final Fantasy XIV, in the Heavensward expansion, what happened is the Ishgardians used to live with dragons pretty well, right? They used to have at least an amicable relationship with the dragons. But in their quest for power, what King Thornton and his like 12 or 13 knights of the round did was they attacked one of the ancient dragons, killed it, and removed both of its eyes, and basically ate those eyes, right? Because the eyes are the source of the dragon's power. And they ate those eyes, and they got superpowers. And when Nidhogg found out, he came and attacked them. But with the power they had gotten from Ratatoskr, they were able to beat Nidhogg as well. Oh, they did lose some knights. So of Thornton and the 12 knights, half the knights were killed, I think. I think it was like six of the 12. But they beat Nidhogg, and they took both of Nidhogg's eyes as well. So both Nidhogg and Ratatoskr, two of the children of Midgardsormr, the progenitor of all dragons on Theris, which is the planet we're on. I think it was 2 of 7 children were just killed because of that. But Racefelgar, another one of the dragons of children of Nidhogg, or Midgardsormr, appeared and gave one of his eyes to Nidhogg quickly enough so that he survived. And Nidhogg then swore revenge against the Ishgardians. Because, it was the Ishgardians who broke the peace, killed Ratatoskr, drank of her, ate her eyes to gain, just for power, and then killed Nidhogg when he was rightfully pissed, So he vowed vengeance against the Ishgardians. And for 1,000 years, right now, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 1,000 years, he was fighting against Ishgard. Now, that's interesting, right? Because, clearly, yes, the ancient Ishgardians, King Thornton and his knights, were clearly in the wrong. They clearly fucked over Ratatoskr. That was fucked up, right? But it's been 1,000 years. All of them are dead. Every single one, right? Not a single one of those knights is alive. King Thornton isn't alive. They're all dead. They're long dead. But Nidhogg is still fighting against the Ishgardians. These Ishgardians aren't even aware of what happened back then. I mean, obviously, because, not surprisingly, the people in power didn't really, make it part of their history that, oh yeah, we betrayed the dragons, fucked them over, and that's why we're being attacked. They just kind of hid that. And just, rallied, saying, hey, the dragons are attacking, let's all fight the dragons. Damn those feisty damn those dragons keep attacking us. Without telling the people that, oh yeah, we kind of caused that by, murdering them. Because obviously, the people in power are not going to say how much they fucked up. So, for 1,000 years, they've been fighting. And at that point, it's like, well, yeah, the Ishgardians are not really at fault at this point, right? It's not their fault that their ancient ancestors did this really fucked up thing, And it's hard to reason with the dragons. One, because Nidhogg is just so incensed with his rage, and the lifespan of a dragon is so much longer. So, anything bad that happens, they just kind of, relive over and over again. So, since Nidhogg is still alive, and he'll live for, thousands upon thousands of years, this anger in him is still just as fresh as when, he was first killed, and his sister was killed as well. So it's kind of one of these things where it's like, well, shit, from our perspective, it's like, dude, come on, man, it's been 1,000 years. No one living had any part to do with any of that shit. Maybe you should forgive them. Maybe you should forgive the Ishgardians. Because, it's super fucked up to even say something like that. Maybe you should forgive the Ishgardians. Yeah, you murdered his sister, and then killed him when he tried to retaliate, and he should just forgive you, because it's been a long time, right? It's a fucked up thing to say, from the dragon's perspective. From a human's perspective, we can kind of understand. It's well, dude, none of us are alive, none of us were allowed to do this. He's not going to parlay with them. He's not going to be like, he's not going to accept Ishgardian for apologies. He's not going to accept anything the Ishgardians could do to try to apologize. So there's just no reasoning with them. It's like there's no reasoning with Nidhogg at all. So it's kind of an interesting thing about like generational guilt. It's like, yeah, the current Ishgardians were being doomed for the actions of their forebears. And so this guy's basically trying to say the same thing. But like, yeah, he's trying to rationalize all that he's doing by saying, well, yeah, but our forebears attacked the Night Terror first. Therefore, anything that happened is their fault, not ours. So if I have to do all these fucked up things, that's fine because they're the ones who caused this issue and I'm just trying to fix it. Of course, it's like stupid, right? Yeah, exactly. Even if it was true, which there's a huge doubt that it is, because you're not talking about historic facts. You're telling us their intentions, what they were intending to do by attacking the Night Terror, and that they betrayed their own clan, and that's why they did this, and that they did a deal with the Ethereals, and that's why we have our power. Why they have their power. It's like none of these things are like provably true, right? You're basing this off nothing. Especially when it comes to the intent, right? Like, oh yeah, they intended to attack the Night Terror to steal its power. It's like, where is that written, right? You can read the minds of people long dead. Obviously you can't. That's total bullshit, right? You're like saying, oh well, they did some sort of deal. They sacrificed their own to survive that time. It's like, really? Based on what? It could have just been pure luck. It could be the half that died were the half of the tribe that was closest to the Night Terror when it exploded in ether, right? It could be that they were all running away, but some people are faster than others, and some people, were too close when the explosion happened. No one's at fault there. They all tried to run. It's not like some of the tribe kicked the others to the ground to get away faster. And they survived because of it. Like nothing like that at all. So it's like, kind of a lot of big assumptions there.
それが町だろうとフォローだ。新エリートが喧騒された時だって治安局強制フォローに追われ日ごとに失っていく仲間の数を数えそんな僕らに誰がユシ君は変えた。
And like this is also stupid, right? Where it's like saying, hey, all survivors have been safely relocated to New Eridu, but us, we are still running for our lives, caught between companion hollows. It's like, okay, and how the fuck were they supposed to know that, right? Like if your tribe is relatively isolationist, so that the public, so that PubSec doesn't know where you are. Like if PubSec doesn't know where your hometown is, how would they know to check, right? You're just saying, oh yeah, but we were still trapped, but they declared all survivors had been relocated. It's like, did you ever call PubSec and say, hey, our tribe is being attacked, we need some help? No, it sounds like you were trapped in the hollows, Did anyone come for us? I mean, presumably someone did. Your tribe is still alive, right? Your tribe is still part of New Eridu. People are aware of your existence at this point, so I would say, yeah, someone did help you. But you're saying, oh, well, when PubSec didn't know where we were, they didn't help us. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, it's such a revisionist history where you're just like blaming everyone else. You're like, yeah, these guys didn't help us. Like these people who didn't know where we were because we didn't call out to them and they had no clue where we were, they didn't help us. It's like, yeah, no shit, they didn't help you. How is it their fault for not helping you when they don't know where you are? Like you even said you were trapped in companion hollows. So you're saying that PubSec, when the catastrophe 11 years ago happened, the catastrophe that happened around Hollow Zero, by the way. Companion hollows are not Hollow Zero. They're hollows outside that realm. When PubSec declared that bullshit, they were talking about survivors of Hollow Zero, survivors of Eridu. They presumably all their rescue efforts were going into the Hollow Zero first, because that's where the catastrophe was happening. You saying, well, yeah, but like we weren't in the main ground zero for this shitstorm, but somehow PubSec didn't send people out into literally every other hollow just to look for other survivors. It's like, are you fucking stupid? Yeah, so basically, Oh, I see, I see. So he's not trying to help their tribe ever. So my thought was that maybe he was luring the chief to Night Terror so he could kill Night Terror to end their curse, right? To be like, cool, if we can get Night Terror out in the open, we can attack it, kill it, and then we no longer have to worry about sleeping at night. But this guy's like, nope, Night Terror thing is a blessing. I want to ingratiate myself to it and gain more power through it. It's like, oh, okay, so you're an asshole then. You are completely betraying your entire tribe for power. You didn't betray the chief for the betterment of your clan. You didn't do this to hopefully kill Night Terror and benefit your tribe. No, you tried to kill the chief, or did kill the chief, just to gain more power for yourself. So it's a completely selfish piece of shit. And actually, that's the thing. That's what I thought he was gonna say. I thought he was gonna say that their old tribe worshipped Night Terror, right? And they had, and that's why and that's why they have. I thought they were like he was gonna say, oh yeah, we worship this thing as a god, because like that's kind of what if a very powerful being shows up, a lot of more primitive tribes can worship it as a god. So I was like, maybe they worship it as a god, but then we're sacrificing children to it or something, and then they realized how fucked up that was and decided to fight back. But because they worshipped it, they already had a piece of Night Terror's power inside them as part of their deal. And so when his ether exploded, that piece of power that in them was now used as the seed for their curse. I thought he was going to say something like that, right? Where you could be like, well, yeah, you shouldn't have made a deal with an ethereal in the first place. But no, you just spouted some random bullshit, no basis in facts, and even still, he didn't come to the good conclusion of, oh yeah, I'm sacrificing the chief so that we can defeat the Night Terror and save our tribe. He's like, no. Night Terror's the power we have from Night Terror is actually a blessing. I'm going to sacrifice the chief so I can ingratiate myself with him. I want to, further our bond. I want to make an actual deal with an ethereal. Which is like, oh, okay, so you're just a selfish piece of shit. How is this going to benefit? How is this a better future for your tribe if you make the curse worse, right? Like, it's so fucking... Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so bullshit about it, too. He insulted the first tribe members, saying, yes, you attacked the Night Terror out of selfish greed, and then you made a deal with it and sacrificed half your kin to survive, clearly trying to say, yes, you guys suck because you did this, and then he goes around and does the exact same thing. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Now, you could argue that he was saying, oh, they didn't suck because they did this, they just did what they needed to survive, and they gained this power because they did that, and so that's a blueprint for what you should do. Yes, just sacrifice your tribe members and you can gain power. Got it. That's what they did back then, despite no proof that that's actually what happened. Jeez. Yeah. Also, it's kind of weird things that, a place for a tribe, your tribe is surviving. Your tribe is fine. As long as you don't sleep at night, you're 100% cool. You've been living for 11 years, no problems since the catastrophe. And it seems, and the fact that you're joining holo raids and stuff like that means that clearly you're recognized by New Eridu, because you wouldn't be able to go into the holo, legally speaking, if you didn't get a pass for it. So the government knows you exist. And by your own admission, you weren't even at ground zero of the catastrophe, and are surprised that PubSec, who was mainly focusing around the catastrophe in Holo Zero, didn't notice you in a non-Holo Zero holo. It's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, no shit, you weren't found. They weren't looking in that one. The shit was hitting the fan in the big one. That's where everyone was.
もっといい実験材料
ルシア、それはちょっと買いかぶりすぎだな。けど今となってはその杖で大道芸君が生きようが死のうが
なら欲しいの。
そんなの
この杖を私に託してくれたのは族長だよ。 彼にあんなことをしておいて。
そういうのは聞き飽きたさ。ヨマが見守る中での争いだろう。夢からの贈り物だのか。でも当の君はヨマの夢を見ることすらできないじゃないか。偶然とはいえ君を貴重なハティと出会わせてしまったのは僕のミスだった。だから今こそ全ての正しい軌道。
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, well, yeah, you never dreamt of the Night Terror. You haven't been chosen. It's like, I mean, realistically, none of you should have dreamt of the Night Terror. Because it only appears at night. So if you're all sleeping during the day, as you all should be, you would never dream of it. But yeah. Yeah, it's just obviously this fucking selfish piece of shit who's just trying to, like, warp history to suit and justify and rationalize what he's doing, which just does not have a justification.
さっき壊したあの中途半端な施策、夜守り人の貴重な力がこのまま埋もれることは誰にとにかく君自身は実験材料と今すぐおとなしく降伏してくれれば。
I don't even know what this is. Like, you're saying a test subject. A test subject for what? Like, are you going to try to control it? Is that what you're... It's a test subject because you're going to try to control it using Night Terror powers? Is that... But then, like... So I guess technically, having a friendly one that won't attack you while you're trying to control it is a good thing. But it also seems like, couldn't you just take any small ethereal, put into a cage, and then your control could be like just having it jump up and down? Like, seems kind of weird. You don't really need it, but whatever. God damn it! Fucking dodged my fucking ultimate. Piece of shit. Looks like the staff didn't make you stronger. Like, the robot, my huge robot, is in no way indicative of my own power. It's like, yeah, the staff didn't make you stronger at all. Like, I say as I hide behind my humongous robot that I didn't create and was just given to me. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I never really liked that, the idea though, that like, so we beat the shit out of it, right? We destroyed its health, right? You're fucking stupid. But yeah, like, I never really liked that. The whole like, oh, okay, you beat the boss, right? And then they cut to a cutscene and you're getting your ass handed to you by that very same boss. It's like, yeah, I destroyed the boss, right? Like his health was fucking 0. And then they cut to a cutscene where the boss is still perfectly fine, shoots us, puts us at a disadvantage, and the enemy's like, ha ha ha, you clearly can't win. It's like, what are you talking about? Just beat the fucking boss. Like, he had no health. Like, that makes no sense, right? There are some other games that do it really well, where basically once you get the boss to a certain level of health, so rather than actually draining the health entirely, when it gets down to like 75 or 50 or even 25% health, then they cut to a cutscene where it then fucks you up. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. I didn't beat the boss. The boss is still alive. In fact, like, it should have been something like, it should have been drained to 25%, then they should have stopped. Then did that, because then you could argue that, hey, the hatties that came out were able to, shred the, the reason why we were able to rip off its head and arms and all that shit was because we had drained its health. We'd lowered its durability to 25%, right? You could make that argument. And there are some games that do that. Most games just say, hey, yeah, you drained the health of it, now we're going to do a cutscene where it's completely fine. Where you're just like, come on, man, like, I drained your health. Final Fantasy XIV does the same thing, right? You beat Gaius at the end of Realm Reborn. You're going down the elevator, you beat the shit out of him, he has no health, and then he walks away all suave and shit, saying, hey, you can't beat me, fuck you guys. And then he goes in and activates Ultimate Weapon, or it's like, well, what the fuck was that then? We beat you, you had no health. Why the fuck are you walking away? Like, perfectly fine, like, completely unaffected by the fact that we just beat the shit out of you seconds ago. Also, it's like, haha, I'm blessed by the Night Terror. That's why I'm using a robot. Completely unaffected by my Night Terror power. You were given a robot by your allies. How the fuck is that in any way your own power? How are you blessed by the Night Terror when you exhibit literally no powers? He's exhibited nothing. No control over ethereals, no nothing. He's just using a robot. It would be one thing if he was given an ethereal, right? If we had to fight an ethereal that he had control over because of his communion with the Night Terror, sure, that could be an extension of his power. But getting all uppity because you're controlling a robot that was gifted to you by somebody else, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like going into a jousting tournament, pulling a gun, shooting the other knight off his horse, and then being like, yeah, I'm the best jouster in the world. Look at how good I am at jousting. It's like, no, you're not jousting. You took a gun, and you ignored the rules of combat, and shot him. And they're claiming that that's somehow a demonstration of your physical prowess at jousting. It's like, dude, fuck, are you kidding me? Yeah, exactly. And when it came down to it, you ignored this quote-unquote connection with the Hollow and then used a machine. Not even your machine. It's not like you built this machine, right? It's not like you're a mechanical genius and have slowly been working to develop this. Like, no. You complain that the outsiders abandoned you, but then you accept help from the outsiders and simultaneously claiming the outsiders are bad. It's like, it's fucking stupid. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that, like, you know what really fucked you over? Your tribe over? The Night Terror fucked your tribe over. And rather than trying to fight against the Night Terror, you fight against the people who didn't help you. It's just a huge misplaced resentment. I've seen in multiple stories many times, right? Like, I've even said this exact same story to other... I read a story where a village... This is like an isekai story, so it's kind of in a medieval type world. Village is being attacked by monsters. Hero shows up, defeats the monsters, Villagers blame the hero for not showing up sooner. You know, oh, look at all these dead villagers. Why, hero, why the fuck didn't you show up sooner? If you were here sooner, these people wouldn't be dead. Blame the hero, the person who saved their lives, for the as the cause of the. Yes, it's the hero's fault that these people are dead. It's like, no, it's the monster's fault these people are dead. But these people don't want to blame the monsters because the monsters don't listen to reason. The monsters won't acknowledge their pain and suffering. And plus, they're also dead. But like, even if some of them were, you know, they're not going to complain. But you know, oh man, it's the monster's fault. Damn those monsters. No, they're going to blame the person they can blame, the person who can acknowledge their. And that's the bullshit thing. It's like, no, you're blaming the wrong person because you have all this, you know, pain inside you, and you want to inflict it on someone else. It's like, yes, you want to blame someone else. It's not your fault. It's the hero's fault for not showing up. It's not that you couldn't defend your. It's not that you failed your village. It's that the hero didn't show up in time to defend your village. It's like, no, like, it's your village. You should have defended it. You know. So rather than blame themselves, which, I mean, so basically the people who are at blame are obviously the perpetrator. Whoever actually does the killing that's the person who's at fault, or that's the thing that's at fault. If it's like a monster or something, you know, that's who's actually at fault. But you yourself do have a small portion of the blame, right? Because you are a village. In a world with monsters, yeah, you should be, you know, you should be ready to defend your village if monsters appear. Obviously, there are always going to be situations that you can't handle, right? Maybe your village can handle a small tribe of goblins appearing, and you can defend your village against them. But yeah, if a huge swarm of trolls show up, or a huge big, yeah, sure, maybe your village isn't good against them, but like, you know, at least you did all you could do, and then it's just, you know, you have a defense force. You could have, you did the best you could, and you know, blame the monsters and all that shit, right? And I never liked this displaced resentment because obviously it's illogical. It's a bunch of assholes who are like, rather than do anything, rather than move on, they want to make other people's lives worse, unrelated people's lives. Like, it's not the hero's fault that this happened, but you're gonna try to guilt trip him just to make yourself feel better. Which is like, fuck you. Like, yeah, you're the victim of the situation. Why are you trying to make more victims? Because you're making him the victim of your situation at that time. And that's basically what this guy is doing, right? He feels victimized, so he's trying to victimize others to make himself feel better. And it's a fucked up thing. Yeah. So it's a fucked up thing. Yeah. So that's the situation, right? Either A, you know, stay with your ethereal and put it at risk for my allies, or let it go into the hollow and be safer because they won't find it. Or option C, tell us who your allies are and we're gonna beat the shit out of them. Tell us who your allies are and we'll fuck them up so they will never attack Chestnut ever again, you know? Option C, fuck over your allies, because your allies are the people who are causing problems at this point. We're gonna throw you into jail, and we're gonna beat the shit out of your allies and throw them into jail too. Problem fucking solved. You know? Because like basically what they're doing is treating the symptoms. Oh yeah, we're gonna hide Hati, or hide Chestnut, so they'll never find it. Like, yeah, that's treating the symptom. Let's say, okay, that's one way to keep Hati safe. The other way is to find the people who are trying to endanger Chestnut and fuck them up. Jesus, what the fuck? Who the... Wait, what? It's kind of funny. It's 2 messages in the morning when they wake up. And they do... What? What a weird thing to say. I feel like the writer of this story has a few inner demons. But also, like, you're bitching and moaning, but the fact of the matter is you have friends who do respond to you. You know, they send you messages in the morning, And sure, they might not respond during the day, but even before they go to bed, they respond to you. So it's like you have friends that actively communicate with you. It'd be one thing if it was like, because it's like kind of friend who sends you messages. It's not him sending them messages. No, you have a friend who sends you messages out of, of their own volition, and then when you send a response, they do eventually respond. So like, that's a pretty good friend, right? A shitty friend would be someone you contact if you sent those 2 messages in the morning. If you send out 2 messages in the morning, they don't ever respond, or respond even rare. Like that's, yeah, it's just so weird, right? Like it's still a friend, right? I feel like that's more Kieran's bullshit. I think Kieran has some shit friends, but even still, that's a pretty good friend because they are responding, right? Who's staying on red the entire time and responding like once a week or something. No, the fact that you're getting 3 messages and that they're initiating a conversation, that's pretty good. A worse friend would be someone that you can't reach out to, right? One that you reach out to, they do respond, but never initiate a conversation. If you have a friend that never initiates a conversation with you, that's a little weird, right? And it depends on how good they are, how active they are too. So like, if you're sending a lot of messages and they only respond like to a tenth of them, and they never initiate a thing, that's kind of like, okay, that's not a good sign. But if they respond to every single message you send, even if they don't initiate any messages themselves, that's still relatively okay, because they do respond every single time. But because then it's just how they might just not be the type of person who thinks to initiate conversations. But even still, like his description of a bad friend is kind of stupid.
さっきの勇敢でちっと心当たりがあるのは君のさっきパティが現れたのは何を言ってるあれを完膚なきま多分君はそろそろ自分ちょっとあんたはボケ品なんだからめったなこと言おう別にいいですよ反抗期の子供じゃないんだからあんまり何度も言われるとそれでですのとにかく君を治安局に引き渡すよさてと
I'm curious if we're ever going to meet this, because obviously it is unfortunate because it does seem like this is going to be the end, right? So it seems unlikely that we're going to fight the allies of Kieran, which means that Chestnut is going to be in danger. So it does seem like it is going to be a goodbye. But it is an interesting idea, though, because it does mean that because I was actually thinking they were going to attack Night Terror. I was thinking that all this bullshit was going to lure Night Terror out, and we'd defeat it and cure their clan. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen because of obviously this. So basically, we haven't resolved the Night Terror. We haven't resolved Kieran's allies, which means, in theory, there's more that could be resolved, right? Like so I'm kind of wondering if maybe Chestnut will come back. Is there going to be a quest later where we, go into the Hollow again, and maybe Night Terror is an actual boss and Chestnut appears at that point? Because that would be an amazing throwback, right? If because that would be an amazing throwback if, like, a later chapter where we're fighting off, like, monsters and stuff, if we do, like, come across Night Terror, like, maybe we have to go into one of the hollows and that's the main hollow where Night Terror is from, or the hollow that this tribe is initially from. Maybe one of the later story chapters takes us there. And maybe the chapter event, maybe it won't be necessarily, they won't call it a Lucia character event, but it could just be an event. It could just be a normal, like, a normal event quest, which takes us into the Hollow to fight Night Terror. It could be like, hey, it's a throwback to Lucia's character quest, and now you can fight off Night Terror and reunite with Chestnut again, maybe. So they don't necessarily have to do a character quest, but it could be an event quest It could be the event quest for that patch. Could be the exploration of the hollow where Night Terror resides, ending in us beating Night Terror, freeing their clan, and rescuing Chestnut.
あの調査員はエーテリアスになる前からちょっと問題や。
Wait, so the chieftain's alive? What? That makes no sense. Because Kieran said, "Oh, I thought I'd lead the sleepwalking him into the hollow to lure out Night Terror," but he said that the chief was claimed by the hollow. That's what he said in the previous cutscene. So I assumed that claimed by the hollow means you were killed. You know, so apparently the chieftain wasn't killed, which is weird because we were chasing after the chieftain, and we only found Kieran. So like we ran in. We were following clues to figure out where the chieftain was, and then we ended up finding Kieran. Although maybe no, actually, was there a body on the ground? I'll have to double check my VOD. Maybe there was a body on the ground and that was the chieftain. And then Kieran appeared later. So maybe that body wasn't Kieran. Maybe I mistook that body for Kieran, who then got up and communicated with us as he was pretending to be incapacitated. But maybe he just walked. Maybe that still was the chieftain, and he just walked out of somewhere else. Because I was operating into something. The chieftain was dead.
でもキーランが言ってた盟友のことはまだ詳しく分かってないしうまく言えない。でもくよくよな。もちろん。トゲなしとフォローに人と分かり合えるエーテリア研究を続けよう。進展って。君も見たもんね。なんでかよし来た。ハティたちよ、リュシアちゃんを助けたまえって。それで本当に出てきちゃうんだ。とにかく今回の出来事は。
Oh really? See, that's what I find like weird, right? Because
ちゃんと吟味しないと。
Because like her abilities were always kind of like wrapping her ether attacks in an illusion to make it seem like they were actually real. So I guess technically when we do see her burst, the ethereal she does summon has this like glow to it. Which, I mean, if that glow actually exists, you know, if it actually is visibly glowy, could it differentiate the two? So I just assumed that when those hotties appeared, that was just her doing her normal abilities. That's why when he was like, "You're a freak, you actually summoned hotties, oh my god." It's like, I just assumed it was her normal power acting normally, and the glow that we see when she does her attacks, when she does her ultimate, around the monster she rides, is just a visual effect, and not indicative of what it actually looks like. Because like in the character video for her, in the character teaser for her, she does summon a hollow, and it looks normal. She summons a hollow that looks like a hollow. It doesn't have that purplish glow that we have in the game. So I just assumed the purplish glow is to make it look cooler. But realistically, she actually does summon them, and it doesn't look like a real hollow. In which case, then having the hotties appear doesn't really matter, because she just created an illusion that all her attacks look like hottie attacks, right? You know, she does an ether blast at the thing's neck and has an illusion of a hottie, biting the neck and tearing it off, right? Like, you could do that. So, I don't know, kind of. But obviously, these people are literally saying that, no, she actually summoned. She has a song? Oh, yeah, that song. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like these games for the story. So I play these games for the story. And so I like all these little things because it like tells us a little bit more about the world. And so it's like it's filling in all this information that we might not get as part of the main story, because the main story obviously has to follow along like the main track, right? It's like, okay, we're fighting against the Exaltist, we're exploring the Hollows, but these side stories allow the world to be fleshed out a little more, right? Now, before Lucia existed, we didn't know about this tribe. Like, her tribe was completely unknown until this point, and their relationship with Night Terror or night horror. So now we know that like there is a holo called the night horror out there. And so I was thinking, you know, what could be interesting later is that like, so she had to leave Chestnut. Chestnut is now gone to hide from the collaborators of Kieran, the guy we arrested. So the Chestnut is at risk as long as Kieran's allies are out there. So they're like, okay, we're gonna hide. We're gonna have Chestnut run away further into Hollow to protect itself. But I would be thinking it'd be really interesting that maybe, you know, in a future patch, you know, in a later patch that we, you know, get close to the Hollow that their tribe is originally from, which is most likely where night horror exists. And then it'd be really cool if there was like a patch event where we actually fight and defeat night horror, free their tribe from their curse, and reunite with Chestnut all in one thing. So I think that would be pretty cool. This is obviously part of Lucia's character quest, but they could just do as like a patch event quest. Like, 'cause each patch has like the one big event, usually one or two big events. Like, technically this patch's event is Yudhari's one. Yudhari's one is the actual patch event, and it just comes with Lucia's character quest. But it could be that a future patch down the line will have us, you know, go and fight night horror and reunite with Chestnut. That would be a really cool throwback. It doesn't have to be anytime soon, because like we don't really know. Yeah, like I like games with good stories, like, and so I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'm also not like those type of people. There's some people who get way too invested in this, and like are just super insulty. And I think gamers in general these days have kind of lost the ability to just kind of sit back and enjoy something. You know, they always have to be like, oh well. There's this thing, these things are bad, this game is bad. It's like, well, can't you just like sit back and enjoy the game for what it has instead of criticize what it doesn't? You know? So I kind of wish people were more like that. Because it is kind of, you know, disappointing when, you know, you enjoy a game and like all social media is filled with all the bullshit about that game, you know, because they just don't want to enjoy it. They just want to hate it for this or that reason. And it's just like, the game is really fun. Like, the game's a fun game to do. Like, if you just enjoy the game for what it is. Like, I think Final Fantasy 16 had that issue where people were criticizing Final Fantasy 16 for being action combat. And they're like, yeah, it's action combat and you don't have a party and the itemization is bad. And while I do agree the itemization is pretty simplistic until you get into like New Game Plus, where you unlock additional levels of equipment, of augmentation, which allows you to kind of actually... It definitely adds another layer to combat. But for the first playthrough, it's incredibly simplistic, where it's just like, oh, okay, you get a new sword, equip the new sword. Oh, it's an elemental sword? Doesn't matter. Equip the new one because it has bigger damage. Like, there's no nuance between the stuff. Who gives a shit about attack and stun? Just pick the thing with the biggest attack. But there were people bitching and moaning, oh, Final Fantasy 16 was bad. It was terrible. It's like, no, Final Fantasy 16 was an amazing game. Like, it had a really good story. Combat was really well done. The boss battles were insanely good. But you just got a bunch of Final Fantasy purists who are like, but it's not turn-based. There's no ATB gauge. Like, this is crap because it doesn't have those things, you know? This is not a Final Fantasy game. It's like, what are you talking about, right? Like, Final Fantasy 14, 15, and 16 don't have... Well, I guess you could say 14 has kind of an ATB gauge. Well, not really. It has GCDs. That's action skills. So, like, you could argue Final Fantasy 14 is an action game, though it kind of isn't. It's more... I mean, it's just an MMO. That's just what it is. But, like, 15 was, you know, an action game, too. So it's like... And, like, Final Fantasies in general are not defined by their combat, because combat in all their games varies greatly, right? Like, basically since 1, Like, Final Fantasy 1 was pure turn-based. Final Fantasy 10 was the next pure turn-based. 2 through 9 had a variation of ATV gauges. And then 11 was an MMO. 12 had an ATV gauge, but done in a different way. 13 had ATV gauges, kinda, but more to kind of help you do shit for... I mean, no, it was ATV, but like, it changed combat drastically. So it's like, the game has changed all over the place. And the thing that makes it a Final Fantasy, I would say, is the good story, good music. And it did. It had both. It was great. But you just got a bunch of people, right? Well, it's not like the other ones. It's an action combat game. That's shit. People like turn-based. Action combat is dog shit. It was crazy, all the rhetoric around why Final Fantasy 16 was bad. And like, it had issues. It's not like it was a perfect 10 out of 10 game. But like, people were just so focused on the things it didn't have, they couldn't enjoy the things that it did have. And then you get so many people complaining and bitching and moaning that, like, hey, there's about things it didn't have, but like I watched a streamer who was playing the game and was pissed that there were invisible walls. So like, you can't jump off a cliff because an invisible wall stops you from jumping off that cliff, right? And he bitched and moaned about it for like multiple times, and I'm like, oh, invisible walls? You mean like literally every other Final Fantasy game? Literally every other single-player Final Fantasy game does not let you go off out of bounds. Like, if the boundary of the map is a cliff, you can't jump off the cliff and die. That's every fucking Final Fantasy, you know? So, to complain about that is fucking insane. Because it's like, wait, are you saying that this Final Fantasy game acts like every other Final Fantasy game? Holy shit. You know? Like, and then, you know, when Remake and Rebirth came out for 7, it has, you know, an interesting mix of action combat and ATV gauges, but you still get people shitting on it. 'Cause it's like, well, it's not the exact same as the old story. I like the old story better. It's like, fine. You like the old story better. That's fine. This is not the same story. I watched a lore video which is claiming that this is more like a sequel. So the original Final Fantasy VII is the prequel game. You know, that's the game. And this is acting as a sequel. So it's not supposed to be the same story. So complaining that the story is worse or is different, well, complaining that the story is different is stupid, because it's like, well, no shit, it's different. They told you it was going to be different. You know it's going to be different. Just because you wanted a shot-for-shot remake in a 3D environment doesn't mean that this game is bad because it doesn't fulfill your what you wanted, right? Just because this game isn't exactly what you wanted doesn't make it a bad game. It just makes it, you know, a different game, you know? And I know a streamer who like went around doing shot-by-shot comparisons, which is like, why? Like, they're not supposed to be the same. They're supposed to be different. This is, like, sure, there are a lot of scenes that are similar, because it's kind of like a multiverse type thing, where it's like, yes, the original OG7 was its own multiverse and story, and this is another multiverse that's basically trying to go down the same path, but because it's not the exact same universe, there are differences that are changing how the world is shaking out. Plus, Sephiroth is actually actively trying to subvert the story and stuff like that. So it's like, so to complain that it's different is stupid. Like, oh, and if you want to say, oh, I like how the scene was done, that's fine, right? Like, if you thought the scene was done better in this one, sure. But it's also like incredibly disingenuous, especially because the guy who was doing these comparisons has basically played the game a lot. He loves the OG7, right? So he's an obsessive fan about the original 7, and he's played it multiple times, voice acted it himself, right? Because like the original 7 doesn't have voice acting at all. So it's him bringing in the voices, bringing in the emotions, and that's why the remake and rebirth will never meet his expectations, because 1, he's an FF7 purist, so he just won't accept anything new at all. But 2, his version of FF7 is him voicing it. It's his interpretation of what these characters are feeling and how they're saying their lines and stuff like that. So basically, he's filled in all the gaps that 7 didn't have in terms of acting and storytelling, with his use of, by filling in lines, adding this and that, saying lines in a particular way. And so it's going to be very hard for any scene to compare in his eyes, because he's basically filled in the original scene with what he thinks is the best way of saying something, right? So basically, it's kind of like how if you read a book, you read like Harry Potter books, right? You read the Harry Potter books, you have it in your mind an idea of what everyone looks like, how everyone talks, how they speak, and then you watch the movies and you're like, wow, like I did not expect Harry to look like this, or Ron to look like this, or Hermione to look like this. I didn't expect them to talk like this. I did not expect their voices like to say. I didn't expect them to deliver the lines like that type shit. And you're gonna have that dissonance. And some people might think, nah, I liked it better in my head. It's like, yeah, because in your head you imagined like what you thought was the perfect way of doing it. And so the movie's not obviously be the exact same. You can still enjoy it, obviously, but like, you know, there was that. And so that's basically the problem with him, is that now that there is voice acting and acting in the new games, they're not matching what he wants, and the dialogue is slightly different. So he's like, well, no, because his whole thing is like, nope, that dialogue is perfect. I've revolved my entire personality around that dialogue being perfect. So any change is wrong, and even if they do the scene word for word the same, the way they deliver the emotions and the way they act, have their characters act in the cutscene, is not the way that the original was, or that I would have done it. Completely forgetting that the original, like, character models were so small and squat that you couldn't really tell what the fuck they were doing at all. So they had to over-exaggerate stuff, which is like not how real people would actually act. And yeah, so basically, all sorts of stuff, right? And why even do a shot-by-shot comparison? Like, they're different games. What you should do is just enjoy the original for what it is, and enjoy the remakes for what they are, right? I think the remake and Rebirth are really good. I enjoy them a lot. I enjoyed 7 too. You know, I enjoyed playing 7. I like 7. But honestly, I prefer the new versions. I think the new versions are more engaging. Like, not simply because it's action combat. Obviously that does, like, the previous combat was just turn-based, but I think the new ones are more engaging and combat is more challenging because of the addition of the action elements and how you work around with materia and all that stuff. And the fact that the new materia they've added and all that stuff, and then the fact that there's a hard mode where you can no longer use items, and benches no longer heal HP and MP, they only heal HP. You know? So yeah. It's sad. I think it's sad that people just can't, like, enjoy things for what they are, right? They have their own expectations. They're like, oh, I expected all this and this and this, and it's the game's fault for not living up to my expectations, regardless of how reasonable they were, right? Sure, some of your like I understand PC players complaining about a game that has poor performance. Like, maybe it plays fine on console, but the PC version is sucky, and performance is bad, and all that shit. Yeah, I get that. The expectation that the game runs smoothly is a baseline expectation that all games should strive to meet, right? But then there are other things where it's like, oh, I expected... Like, people were complaining about the Devil May Cry combat system of 16. It's like, I'm sorry, but it's been long since said that the battle combat designer of Final Fantasy 16 used to work on Devil May Cry. So it's like, you're bitching and moaning that the combat in 16 plays like Devil May Cry, and it's like, yeah, no shit. Because it was designed by the guy who made the combat in Devil May Cry. No fucking shit. Why are you complaining about that? Your expectation that it wouldn't be that is incredibly stupid. You know? So that, I would say your expectations are wrong. So to complain about a game doing something that it clearly told you it was going to do, or if you know, did any sort of research, or paid attention, or watched a video before playing it, you would have known, oh yeah, that's what it is. You know? Anyway. Oh, I see. That's what the dream she had was the Chestnut leaving. I assumed that the Night Terror attacked her in her dreams, and Chestnut was the representation that fought against the Night Terror, and that's what led it being tired. But it was actually her dreaming. It was a dream of her eventual departure of Chestnut. And so Chestnut was all tired because of this the fight we just had. Interesting. But yeah, so yeah, anyway. I do dislike it. I do think that a lot of people have these kind of like expectations, and they get mad when a game doesn't fulfill their expectations. Which is fine for basic things, you know? Sure. There are definitely there are definitely things that games should have, and if they don't have it, I would say, yeah, the game. Oh, whoops! I forgot to spend my battery, but I already took off my shoes because I've already been walking for an hour and 30 minutes, so I'm fucking sweaty. Okay, so. But yeah, too much ranting. Could have probably finished this half an hour earlier if I didn't have my random rants, but yeah, I just find it sad because it makes a game that is good for what it is perform worse because a bunch of people who expect bullshit, right? Expect unrealistic things. The people who expect unrealistic things go out and like bitch and moan about the game. Oh my god, the game's like this, the game's like that. It's like, oh, you mean the thing that we knew that the game was going to have? You know, we knew that the game was going to be like this. Everyone clearly knew, but you didn't know. It had these weird expectations, and then when the game didn't meet them, you were somehow blaming the game for it. It's like no, no. And then because that rhetoric goes around, people are like, oh, it's a shit game. So a game that is really good underperforms maybe, or just doesn't perform as well as it could, because there's a bunch of negative people. Like, I think Final Fantasy 16 could have performed better if you just didn't have all these Final Fantasy purists trying to say, because it's the same kind of thing where, like, basically the Final Fantasy you grew up playing is like the best one, right? So for me, it's 10 because that's the one like I really grew up playing. It might be the first one I beat start to finish. Actually, no. I played other Final Fantasies on like Game Boy and stuff because they were Game Boy ports. But I remember liking 10 the most because I bought the PS2. I got Final Fantasy 10. I even bought 7, 8, and 9, so I have the PS1 disc for that because the PS2 is backwards compatible. I might have even played 7 first, and then 10, or I might have done 10 first, then 7, 8, 9. I can't remember. But either way, 10 is the one I like the most. And it's like, yeah, it's the one you grew up, and that's the one you liked. And so the first one you really played and really got into is the one that is the best one, because you were a child at the time, and it basically locks that in as a child, and no other one will compare. But I think the problem is that you basically have a variety of Final Fantasy fans who all have their own all have their own favorite, right? There are some who love 6, there are some who love 4, there's some who who love 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, or even 13 for some. But yeah, it just like locks it into your like adolescent mind, so that is the best one according to you. And every Final Fantasy that comes out is never the same. There's no two Final Fantasies that play exactly the same. And I think because of hardware limitations back in the day, a lot of the old ones were ATV gauge because it was just the simplest, most active way you could do a turn-based game. But rather than doing pure turn-based, you have this ATV gauge to have at a low level of like, ooh, wow, you're under a time crunch every single time. But then, as hardware became better, you just stopped doing that, and it's very difficult.